My Lords, oral questions will now commence. Please, can those asking supplementary questions keep them no longer than 30 seconds and confined to 2 points? And I ask that Ministers' answers are also brief. I call Baroness Bonham-Carter of Yarnbury to ask the first oral question.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
I call the Minister, Baroness Barron.
My Lords, the Government has engaged with industry to understand fully the impact of Ofcom's proposals. The Government remains committed to act on Ofcom's prominence recommendations, including through legislation. It is important to ensure that prominence and the balance of benefits and obligations support a sustainable future for PSBs. These issues will be considered as part of the Government's strategic review of PSBs, where we will set out next steps next year.
Baroness Bonham-Carter.
I thank the Noble Baroness, as usual, for her response. My Lords, as stated in the Ofcom report published yesterday on the future of PSB, viewers of all ages and backgrounds value PSBs. The pandemic has highlighted their importance as trusted sources of information, and they will be equally important going forward into the vaccine phase. Would the Noble Lady, the Minister, agree that for viewers to continue to be able to find them across the many connected, ever-changing devices that now exist, they must be kept prominent? Otherwise, what we watch will be dictated by the interests of global tech giants, not the interests of our society. Can the Noble Lady, the Minister, reassure the House that this government is committed to public service broadcasting, that it recognises introducing this long overdue legislation?
The Noble Baroness has been asking for far too long. Could we please keep questions short to give everybody a chance to ask their question?
Long overdue legislation is urgent, and tell us when it will do so.
I will just reiterate briefly what I already said. Of course, the Government has always supported public service broadcasting and continues to do so. We are conducting a wide-ranging review but remain committed to legislation in relation to prominence.
Baroness Wheatcroft.
Of high-quality content made for UK viewers, including current affairs. Would the Noble Lady, the Minister, agree with me that this is more important than ever, given the amount of dangerous propaganda those of malign intention pump out on social media all the time?
I apologise, I missed the beginning of the Noble Lady's question, but I think I got the gist of it. The Government takes the importance of impartial information and reliable information very seriously, and conversely is really clamping down on both misinformation and disinformation, and has made good progress with the social media platforms in this regard.
Lord Lucas.
My Lords, I am absolutely delighted by my noble friend's answers. Does she share with me a sense that us all having access to a truthful public service broadcaster is an essential component of keeping a coherent and happier society?
My noble friend is right to raise these points, and indeed it is vital also for practical reasons, given that just over half of the country have access to a video-on-demand service. So the role of public service broadcasting continues to be crucial.
Baroness Lane Fox of Soho.
I declare my interests as noted in the register. Would the Minister please confirm that there will be a special focus on the strategic review that she mentioned coming next year on the relationship between young people, public service broadcasting and information, with just 2 minutes a day of news being consumed by people under 24, and as other noble lords have said, the absolute essential case for veracity of news and authenticity of information being so important at the moment?
The noble lady is absolutely right, and I don't want to preempt the conclusions, obviously, of that committee, but across our legislative programme, the importance of children and young people is preeminent.
Baroness Bakewell.
I raise the issue of urgency about this bill. Two circumstances. First, as has already been said, the increasing abundance of fake news on the internet with its damaging effect on public trust. And secondly, the renewed sense of civic responsibility engendered by the pandemic. Will the Minister press the government to seize the moment and give a date when they will introduce this timely legislation?
The government is actively working with all the key stakeholders in this area, the TV manufacturers, the platform gatekeepers and the PSBs, but I can't, I'm afraid, give the noble lady a firm date.
Lord McNally.
My Lords, will the Minister explain to some of the Neanderthals on our own benches in both houses that support for public service broadcasting includes giving stimulation to our creative industries and giving voice to our national and regional identities in ways that the big international providers never will?
I have to say I don't recognise the description the noble lord makes of either my noble friends behind me or in the other place. We absolutely recognise the importance of the investment in our creative industries of over £2.5 billion a year, and we welcome that and the ecosystem it creates.
Lord Moylan.
In my Neanderthal fashion, I found that BBC Radio 3 has been the mainstay of my life for nearly 50 years, and it's a fine example of public service broadcasting. But in recent years, it's been infected by a sort of relentless wokeness, which I think is a sort of tendency of public service broadcasting. So while my noble friend is correctly promoting the prominence of PSB, will she also tell us what she's going to do to try to ensure it meets a broader spectrum of cultural views across the country?
Yeah. Well, I think the new Director General and the most recent comments from Ofcom support my noble friend's final comments about breadth of views and voices. But as he will know, the BBC is editorially independent, so its decisions in relation to Radio 3 rest with them.
Lord Stevenson of Balmacara.
My Lords, British broadcasting relies to a significant extent on keeping the funding of public service broadcasters separate. What response does the government have on the decline of mass advertising revenue referred to in the small screen, big debate consultation recently issued?
Well, I think the government is concerned, and my colleagues in the department are working closely with the industry to understand what a sustainable funding model looks like.
The Viscount Colville of Culross.
In the Ofcom report on prominence, it recommends there may need to be new obligations to ensure the continued availability of PSB on-demand content to viewers, equivalent to the existing must-offer, must-carry rules for PSB's traditional channels. Can the noble lady, the Minister, tell the House what plans there are for the PSBs to be available on a wide range of platforms?
The noble Viscount raised an important point. Our view is this is a commercial issue between the platforms and the PSBs. We will continue to keep it under review as part of our review of the future of PSBs, but in the meantime we hope that they achieve a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Lord Roberts of Llandudno.
Can I ask the Minister to give an assurance that the Welsh language channel S4C will be dependent, because we depend upon the licence fee and are supported by up to 70 million a year in that way. If there's any change, then Welsh language broadcasting will be in danger.
I can reassure the noble lord that this will be part of the review that we will be undertaking.
Lord Blunkett.
My Lords, I'd be deeply comforted by the noble Baroness's answers this afternoon if it weren't for the fact that the Secretary of State has established an advisory panel whose membership, it has to be said, is imbalanced in terms of their experience, their history and their known views. What is the role of this advisory panel in sustaining PSB when so many of them are clearly against it?
I'm grateful to the Noble Lord for his question, and obviously all members of the panel are expected to operate in an independent capacity. Their role is in relation to advising the government on some of the complex policy issues which the Noble Lord is very familiar with.
My Lords, all supplementary questions have been asked, and we will now move to the next question.